Okay. Can you guys hear me? It's brilliant to see all the youngest and most dynamic and most experienced and powerful people of this whole conference gathering in one room. So very welcome on your choice. If you wasn't fired up by Finnish drumming at lunch, we'll try to beat you up on circular economy during this session. This session is around innovation challenges for circular economy. My name is Sofus Midtgaard. I'm going to lead you through the session together with Toge Sabro here today. We're going to talk about how innovation challenges and collaboration between innovators and big corporation governments can drive circularity and circular economy. And with me today, I have an amazing panel. I have actually two amazing panels, but a first amazing panel here with me on stage. If you do want to tweet during the session, please use the hashtag #LaunchCircular or the official hashtag of this conference, World Circular Economy Forum 2017. So on stage here, I am so happy to welcome Håkan Nordqvist, who is from IKEA Group, Head of Sustainability, and today representing a coalition called Launch Nordic. I have Erik Bang with me from the H&M Foundation. He's going to talk about what H&M does in the innovation challenge space. And I'm very happy, I would say, to have Marco with me here today. Marco might tell you a little bit about why I'm so happy about seeing him, but he's here from London. So nice you could make it despite all the events this weekend. So Marco, I'm going to head the presentation to you, and you would do a short introduction about innovation challenges and what you see in the market field. Yep. Marco is an expert in innovation challenges and will just introduce the field and talk a little to innovation challenges in general, and we'll switch to the two cases afterwards.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm very happy to be here. As Sofus said, I was right in the middle of the attack on Saturday night, so I didn't think I was going to make it to Finland today, but actually I managed to get a late flight last night, so I'm really happy to be here. We're not scared about anything, so we just carry on. This is my message for you guys. So my name is Marco Zappalorto, and I work for Nesta, which is the innovation foundation in the UK. But we also work at global level. And right now at Nesta, I'm in charge of overseeing all our European work. But before that, I set up a team called the Challenge Prize Center. That was 5 years ago, and the aim of the team was to experiment with a new tool called Innovation Challenges. So at Nesta, we experiment with new ways of supporting innovation. And 5 years ago, in Europe, it seemed the right time to set up a team dedicated to experiment with challenge prizes. When we set up the team, it was just 2 of us, and now the team is over 25 people. We worked in over 15 countries. We ran over 30 challenges, and we designed over 70 challenges, which is an amazing achievement in 5 years. And it shows how this tool, the tool is becoming not just popular, but also impactful. I'm going to start with a little game. I'm going to show you 4 things, and then you have to tell me what they have in common. So this is margarine. This is billiard balls, tin. And this is a marine chronometer. So does anyone know what these things have in common? No? They all came out of innovation challenges. Starting from top left, the margarine was actually the outcome of the butter substitute prize in 1873, when butter was too expensive for poor people, so they were trying to find an alternative for that seemed like tastes like butter, kind of, but was cheaper. The billiard ball prize is in 1863 to find an alternative material to stop killing elephants to make billiard balls. The Food Preservation Prize, 1795, under Napoleon, aimed at finding a way to preserve food during wars. And finally, the very first inducement prize or challenge prize or innovation challenge, the Longitude Prize, launched by the British government in 1714, aimed at finding a way to measure longitude. And it took about 53 years to award the prize, but we now have a way to measure longitude. So you can see how the tool is not super new. People were using it 3 centuries ago, 4 centuries ago, but there's been a comeback. They're becoming more popular. Why? Let's start from the definition. So innovation challenges or inducement prizes offer a reward to whoever can first or most effectively meet a defined challenge. So instead of giving money in advance, like grants do, you just set a specific challenge. You say, I want to solve this challenge, come back to me with the solution. And if you have the best solution, then you get a cash prize. So you reward based on outcome. So they're different from, say, the Nobel Prize, that when the award is based on recognition for something that you've already done. So it induces people, innovators, to come up with a solution. What we've seen is that, as I said, they're becoming extremely popular. The Obama administration introduced inducement prizes as an official tool in the Open Innovation Strategy in 2009. And then the British government, of course, in 2012, launched the Challenge Prize Centre in collaboration with Nesta. In the last few years, we've seen that challenge prizes can solve big problems, can create completely new markets, like the X Prize Foundation in San Francisco and West Coast US does. They set these massive challenges, and the aim is to create completely new industries. And then they can shine a light on neglected issues. So by launching a challenge, governments, foundations, corporates can identify a specific problem and raise awareness amongst people about that problem, so people are more aware that it's a problem. They can also encourage other people to invest in a specific challenge. There is a kind of like a ripple effect. In fact, we see that not just the winner takes the money, but also the finalists, the semi-finalists, get a chance to talk to investors, to foundations, to further develop their solutions. They can bring new products to markets, of course, and they can also prompt partnerships and collaborations between participants of the same challenge. Sometimes they just notice that they're working on similar things, so decide to come together. One thing. But I think that all these things are great, but they can all happen when the challenge is well designed and there is a specific challenge. So I just want to highlight 3 key requirements for innovation challenges. The first one is that the problem should be very well defined and you should have a goal in mind. So you might not know what the solution is, and this is why you're doing a challenge, but at least you want to know what is the problem that you want to solve. Second thing is have a multi-stage approach. What I mean by that is that there is no point to launch a challenge with a big cash attached to it and do not interact with the participant till the award ceremony. What is important is to shortlist very promising ideas and to work with them, to invite them to boot camps, to join an accelerator, to give them some seed funding, to support the development of their solutions, but also to try to help them prototype and test their solutions. And finally, communication is very important. So investing in communication is important because we want as many people as possible to find out about the challenge and as many people as possible to feel empowered to come up with an idea to solve the challenge. Before I conclude, I just want to show 3 examples of successful challenges that we run in the past. As you can see, very different scales. Running an inducement and innovation challenge doesn't mean that you have to attach million to it. You can have an effective one with £50,000, like the waste reduction challenge that was aimed at finding community-led solutions to reduce waste. Then we had the Big Green Challenge and 1 million challenge prize that Nesta launched before the Center for Challenge Prize was set up in 2007. And it was again to find community-led solutions to find ways of reducing carbon emission at local level. And finally, in 2014, to celebrate the 300 years anniversary of the first Longitude Prize, we launched the new Longitude Prize. And there was a big communication campaign associated to the prize because we ran a program on BBC, and we asked the British public to choose what they thought was the major challenge of our era, and they chose antimicrobial resistance. So the £10 million Longitude Prize aims at finding a solution, a diagnostic device for GPs and doctors to identify whether your infection is bacterial or viral, and do it in a very cost-effective and quick way. I'm going to conclude now, but I'm going to hand it over to my colleagues to talk about more about the challenge they are running. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Eric, you're here representing the H&M Foundation. You launched the Global Change Award a couple of years back. Could you let us in on that case and what motivated it and what's your experiences so far running it?
Sure, and I should admit that I was, when we designed the Global Change Award, we were looking at both Nesta and IKEA for inspiration and lessons learned on how to run an innovation competition. So 2 years back, in 2015, we launched the Global Change Award. And we did it from the H&M Foundation, so I represent the foundation. We're separate from the company. We're a non-profit based in Stockholm, Sweden, and we work to improve living conditions globally. And we saw the innovation competition as a tool to really address the challenges of the fashion and textile industries. One among the biggest industries in the world, and also some of the most planet-intensive one. And so we designed the competition to switch this. So this is the Global Change Award. It's an annual competition where we want to speed up the development that's already going on in the industry, the transition towards a fully circular fashion industry. And we do that by identifying and accelerating the development of early stage innovation. So we're looking for innovation that's not on the market, that's perhaps not even proven. So it could be concepts or ideas. And as a foundation, we see that is our role. That's how we can add value to what's already going on in the industry and from other players, and including governments. Because that way we can absorb risk, the industry can't, and we can incentivize change and bring attention and awareness to this challenge and to the solutions that we need to find. And also we can be the helping hand and to powerfully accelerate the innovators to move on quickly, and because this is an urgent challenge to solve, as we all know in this room. And we didn't really know what to expect when we launched 2 years ago. The foundation, H&M Foundation, is a fairly new player. It's okay if you haven't heard of us before, because we're so new. But the response was completely overwhelming. In the first 2 years that we run this competition, we received more than 5,000 circular innovations. And last year, 2,885 innovations from 130 countries. Which is way beyond our wildest expectations, and there are not that many blank spots left on the map. So it turned out this really had a global appeal. And interestingly, the majority of the people competing in this competition are women. And that is not very common for innovation in general and competitions as well. So we found that along the way, and the median participant in Global Change Award is a 27-year-old female from Mumbai. And this, every year we name 5 winners because we need so much innovation, right? It's a big challenge ahead of us. So 5 winners every year, and it's so early stage that there's still so much risk involved with these concepts. Here are this year's winners. We named them in April in Stockholm. So the 5 teams from 3 continents, a mix of academic teams as well as single entrepreneurs. So they're representing the whole scope of where innovation can come from. They're happy, of course, because they just won and they're sharing a €1 million grant. which is divided between them using a public vote. So the general public goes in and distributes the €1 million between them. But they also get, as you mentioned, an important thing is to have a continuous support and work with them over a longer period of time. So they also get a 12-month long acceleration program, which we host together with Accenture and KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. And through that acceleration program, we can provide them with a complete toolbox of skills and insights that they can use to leverage their great innovation. And we meet virtually during the year, and we also take them to Stockholm, Milan, and Shanghai, where we meet physically and work together for a week. And also, through those weeks, we expose them to the industry, because we learn that most of the innovation are coming from outside of the industry. It's not from within. So the winners, the teams here, the future of the industry, they have very little knowledge about how the industry works, who the big players are, and how they should address and circumvent the challenges, being a tiny player in this giant industry. So we see that as a core part of this, is for them to access the industry, build their own networks, and understand who is who to better leverage their innovations. And since we want this change for the entire industry and not just H&M, which we are related to, we are not taking any ownership or IP rights in the winners. They are completely free to work with whoever they want to. And in fact, we are very ambitious in encouraging them to seek the partnerships that suits them the best. Of course, H&M is an attractive player. It might be the best partner for them, but it might be someone else as well. So that's what this full year of acceleration program is also about, to find the right partnerships for them. And nor is H&M taking any part in any stakes in them. Yes, that's sort of the short story about Global Change Award. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. We'll catch up with a couple of questions afterwards. Håkan, apart from being head of sustainability innovation at IKEA Group, you're also heading a coalition of partners running an innovation challenge under the brand of Launch Nordic. Tell us a little bit about the approach there and what you're up to.
Yes, I can do that. Thank you for inviting me here. It's really an honor to be here during these 2 very, very important days, and fantastically interesting days too. We're one of the founding organizations of something called Launch Nordic. And it's coming from something called Launch, which was founded many years ago by Nike, NASA, US State Department, and USAID. And they ran that as an innovation challenge, an innovation platform, and found out it was good. They wanted to expand. And we found that interesting from an IKEA point of view, and started to engage. And together with other partners in the Nordic region, we created then sort of a subset of Launch, which is called Launch Nordic. We then looked into what would an interesting area be to focus our innovation challenges on and efforts. So together with the partners, we said that circular economy is really one of the game-changing activities that will take place now, and one of the most necessary too. So let's focus on circular economy. So we sort of founded Launch Nordic around circular economy. We also said that to be able to have impact, and I have to emphasize that impact is the key word, not single year challenges or single initiatives. It's actually the impact that you can create. And how do you create the biggest impact? So we said we need to do something that is continuous over many years. If we launch a challenge now and then or another one next year, and there is no connection between them, perhaps we do something good there, but it will sort of be left behind. So we set up a 4-year cycle within Launch, focusing on circular economy. And to our best ability, we try to see how is that value chain looking like, or what are the important components of a circular economy, and where can we sort of focus our efforts on. So we started off with new sustainable materials and feedstock, and launched a challenge around that. The year after it was closed loop systems and recycling technologies. And this year then, the third year, we have new design and manufacturing processes. And the final year, which will be next year, we have the business models and customer engagement. Right or wrong, these are the 4 areas we have selected as challenge areas, and we've been launching now challenges for 2 years. This will be the 3rd year in a row. What is a bit special with Launch and Launch Nordic is that we don't have a money prize. You don't win money when you're sort of selected as an innovator in this process. So what we build is the key focus is on the innovators, to find game-changing innovations and innovators that can make their innovation real and take it out to market. To be able to do that as a startup or an innovator, you meet a lot of challenges. Money is one of them, but there are so many others. So we're building an ecosystem of people, organizations, governments, NGOs, investors that can support the innovators to actually fulfill their innovation and fulfill their dream. Every year we select 10 innovators. We gather an ecosystem around them, as I said, with investors, with small and big companies, with governmental organization, non-governmental organization, and so on and so on. And so in the end of that cycle, we gather and we commit together to the innovators. What we can do as IKEA, how can I engage with a company or an innovator to help them scale their innovation? How can one investor help with money or invest in that innovation? So there is no money, but there is a commitment and there is an ecosystem that you will have for as long as you want as a prize or how you win. Yeah, I think that's Launch Nordic and how we work and what we want to achieve. And we will later today see the challenge for this year, how it looks like, to Sophus. Just one last remark on that. If this works, there it was. One of the bonuses by being in Launch Nordic is that it's funded by NASA. NASA is a fantastic organization. There's a lot of astronauts there, and they've been up in space, and they've been to moon, and all of those type of things. And one friend of mine, and she's actually here today, and I hope you will join us for the dinner tonight, because she will make the keynote there, and she will talk about circular economy from her perspective. And it's Katie, please. Katie Coleman is here, and she will have the keynote. And it will be a fantastic experience. I've heard her before. She's really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that. And listen to how an astronaut can put circular economy into a context from their perspective.
Thank you, Håkan. I think I'm going to, yeah, let's have a... I think I'm going to open up the floor for 2 questions. We don't have much time. But while a microphone is passing on to the first brave questionnaire, I'm going to kick you off. So I've got 2 questions actually for you. Håkan, now we just heard from H&M that they are launching a challenge, but you're launching a challenge, maybe many companies together. Isn't it messy? And how do you agree on those innovation challenges? It might be much easier to just do it as IKEA.
Well, you can see everything will be messy in one way or another. I think the important thing for us is that we were too small to create change or impact by ourselves. The only way to have an impact is working together with others. And as I said, not only other companies, but with governments and with NGOs and investment companies. Because only together we can create a real change. It's one thing to start an innovation or a company which would fit or that is promoting a circular model or a circular economy. It's a totally different thing to sort of move into a circular economy. You need to change fundamentals in today's economy to actually enable that to happen. And I think only together we can do that. And all of us can be small but significant contributors into that if we work together. And I haven't felt any messiness in that at all. It's more energy in the room.
Great. Eric, you talked to the Global Change Award and what you're doing to support the innovators. What has come to mind, and I'm still waiting for a question from the audience, what has come to mind as the most surprising thing? What, apart from the number of innovators that you say, that it's pretty impressive numbers. I think you even do better than we do at launch. Maybe cash prizes works a bit. No, what has surprised you the most?
Well, the biggest surprise from, we've done the full cycle with the first edition of the winners that we named last year. So we were working with them now for 12 months, and they graduated our acceleration program. And the biggest take back is how well they work with each other and how they can support each other. So as the years go by and the number of innovators grow in this field, because that's ultimately the reason why we have competitions, because there's a lack of innovation. They've formed this really, really powerful alumni that can support each other and work for each other. So one team's progress is also a stepping stone for the other team. And to see them work together in the weeks when we meet physically, but also during the year, has been what we didn't expect. We thought it was all on us, but actually creating that collaborative workspace for them and to develop together has been really, really useful. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I think we have a question. The gentleman on the third. Sorry, yeah, the lady with the mic.
Hello, my name is Catherine Barth, coming from Norway. I have noticed, it's very interesting to listen to you, but all three of you represent systems which are whole systems. You are able to recognize the value chain and all the processes to your end customer, which make you available to have a system approach to your innovation. What kind of recommendations or observations would you have for other industry players which are just part of other industries' value chains regarding innovation for the circular economy?
Thank you. That's a tough one.
Okay, I can. No, I don't. For me, size doesn't really matter in that. It's, as I said, when you work together, you can create impact. And if you miss a link in the value chain, you won't create the impact in the end. So even if you are one part of the value chain, and IKEA is one part of the value chain, we're in many parts of it, but we're not in the total one. And together with others, we can create an impact. So I think my advice would be to advise with your colleagues or peers or partners in the value chain and agree on a definite impact goal, what you want to achieve, and then you start from there and you create or design the process to create that impact.
If I may add also, for our focus of the Global Change Award, it's pre-competitive still. So it's fairly easy to, because we're a foundation, we're only 8 people in Stockholm. I'm the only one working on Global Change Award, to give you a reference of size and how big we are. And so just go knocking on door for pre-competitive innovation is a very useful and efficient tool to bring people on board and to be collaborative in your approach. So we have Accenture and KTH on board, which is the technological university in Stockholm. They are on board because they can also open doors. Because we don't want to rely on just one player in the industry. If you're referring to H&M's value chain, we want the innovators to be self-sufficient and independent when they graduate our acceleration program. So really, the collaborative approach is key. And I don't think size matters in that sense.
Thanks a lot. I'm going to take, I know there's many more people who wish to ask questions. I'm going to take one more. I think I can guarantee that all of the speakers will be available for the 15 minutes just after the session, so rush to them and grab them and get all the knowledge out of them that you want. I'm going to take one question from the gentleman in the back.
My name is Ludwig from Autotech. Just one question. I assume there are many foundations around like yours in different sectors. How can they be made transparent? Could the World Circular Economy Forum take a lead in making all these foundations transparent? It's because of the impact, it's because of the cooperation with maybe not insiders who do not know that H&M has a foundation for innovation?
We need the World Circular Economy Forum to answer that, but is there a need for a better transparency or oversight or collaboration between different innovation challenges? Marco, maybe that's a question for you.
In terms of finding a place where...
Yeah, to be able to overview the landscape of innovation challenges as innovators or potential partners?
We have an online platform where we try to group as many challenges as possible, not just our challenges, but also challenges run by other organizations that we work with. So for instance, the European Commission uses our platform not to manage their challenges, but at least to advertise their challenges. So, you know, if you guys want to use our platform, feel free. It's really like it's open source, and we use it commercially to run challenges, but also we give it out for free to advertise challenges. And the aim is really to create the equivalent of challenge.gov in the States in Europe. So challenge.gov is the platform that the US government uses to advertise all the challenges that government departments run. I don't know whether it's going to be shut down by the Trump administration or not, but it's still live.
I think there's a business there, maybe, for somebody who wishes to collect all the innovation challenges. Maybe so. I need to wrap up this panel because we have an equally as amazing panel. So I would like to give these gentlemen a big hand. Håkan will stay here. Marco and Eric, so much thank you for joining us. We'll have a couple of other panelists, but I think you'll be helped. Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot. Talk afterwards. On stage, in a minute, will be Claus D. Pedersen from Novozymes, joining Håkan Nordqvist, and Vigga Svensson. So we're turning into the second part of the session. When I was standing outside just getting some fresh air, I saw all the black Mercedes leaving the Finlandia house. And that means it's time for action, right? Yeah, so we're going to be the action today. We're all going to be the action today, not just these people. But the reason we have brought these three people together today is actually to announce this year's Innovation Challenge. You're going to be the first in the world to see it. So we're in for a treat. Håkan, would you start out by saying a few words around, you introduced launch, but the topic of this year's challenge and why it's so important that we crack design and manufacturing to enable circular economy?
Absolutely. And as I showed you before, we have set up sort of a 4-year roadmap on addressing certain parts of how to create the circular economy, or finding innovations and models that can help us transit toward a circular economy. And design and manufacturing is two different parts of the value chain, you could see. But of course, the first one is, how can we design products? How can we create methods and systems for designers to think in circular ways? How can we help them to design products that can have a second and third and fourth life, and perhaps that we can reassemble into new types of products, or where we can reuse the material? So we ease up those types of things already from the beginning in the designer's mindset. Secondly, the production part. And if you're in the linear economy, if we call it that, you design a product, then you produce it, and then you distribute it, and then you sell it, and then you use it, and then you throw it away. So we wanted to address that part of the value chain. But for me now, the production part is so much more than the current paradigm around production. I see that more in the circular way. It's more locally produced. It's using additive manufacturing, and it's using recycled material from a local community, where you can actually then take the material that is already existing in society, bring it into a production process which is close to where you live, and then it will be produced for your needs with minimum amount of transport and waste of material. So the production part is more focused on how can we support the shift from the linear economy or the normal way of producing or setting up a supply chain towards the future one, where we can see much more locally produced material through technologies like additive manufacturing.
So Klaus, Novozymes is a company doing products inspired by nature. You are the world's largest enzyme producer. How does this all make sense for you guys? What are your role in driving circular economy and this year's challenge?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about that. Great question. Yeah, Novozymes is a manufacturer of enzymes and microbes, and we are in more than 30 different industries, from laundry detergents to textiles to leather to pulp and paper to agriculture and energy. And whenever our technology is used, less water, less chemistry, less energy, better utilization of the raw materials, better opportunity to cycle back, reuse some of the materials. So circular sustainability and the circularity thinking, the thinking about nature is so much what we are all about. And as you know, nature is a closed loop, and we see that there are so many opportunities that our technology can enable closing more loops for our partners and customers. And we have a great business today. There's so much that our technology can do every day in all the different supply chains where we work. But when we integrate this opportunity, the biological solutions, into the design phase, which we hope that this innovation process focusing on design can help do, then we can make even bigger improvements, even bigger deltas that we need. So obviously, we are here to inspire and encourage innovators to look into the opportunities of biology and how to help improve the design and the manufacturing processes for a better future.
Amazing. And apart from an astronaut present here today who's with us from space, we have a woman from the future also. She was all over your chairs, if you didn't recognize, Vigga Svensson. Vigga, to some extent, you're living this circular future.
Yeah, that's true. I am a co-founder of a Danish startup called Vigga, and we are actually doing circular economy in real life.
Wow.
Because Vigga, it's a two-legged concept. It's a high-quality kidswear and maternity wear brand, and it's a circular subscription service. So those of you who have kids, you know they grow very fast, and you experience that the clothes that they fit yesterday, it's too small today. And that's a universal challenge, and we solve that in our circular business model. So we offer parents a subscription. For a monthly fee, they will always have high-quality clothes in the right size for their pregnant tummy or for their baby. And when the clothes becomes too small, they receive a new collection one size up and return the outgrown collection to us. And after a strict quality inspection, maybe some repair and a wash at a professional laundry, it's ready for a new family. So that's circular economy.
So living the future, what has struck you when it comes to design and manufacturing, and what is challenging living out there?
You can say the key word in our business model is quality, because our business model simply depends on high quality. If the quality is too low, the business model breaks down. And that has absolutely been the main challenge for us, going to the textile suppliers and asking them to produce high quality clothes. That's not what they are asked to do by other companies today. So we experience a lot of lack of know-how, how to produce high quality, the raw materials in high quality, things like that. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to produce clothes in high quality today. That's actually a main challenge for us, because our business model and our business depends on that.
Okay, I think we should let the world in on this year's challenge. So without further ado, a short video.
Imagine a world where every product was a service, a future of zero ownership. We know, it sounds crazy. But what if it wasn't? What if it was the birth of a truly circular economy? A future where all products were designed to last, to be reused, repaired, and be recycled. This year, we invite 10 selected innovators to join a coalition of global companies, government institutions, and innovators from around the world, committed to accelerate the shift to a circular economy. We're looking for game-changing ideas and innovations for this year's challenge, Design and Manufacturing for a Circular Economy. It could be new ways of designing products to be upgraded, reused, repaired, or recycled. New manufacturing methods that better enable automated disassembly. New ways to manufacture inspired by nature. New ways of using materials available right around us. New ways of using customization and convenience to make a circular product the superior choice. Or you can surprise us with something completely different. Innovations from around the world are welcomed. The key requirements are that your innovation has the potential to grow and create impact globally. With the collective power of organizations like IKEA, Nike, eBay, Novozymes, Kvadrat, and several Nordic government institutions, we'll work with you to disrupt the status quo, grow your innovation, and create a positive impact on planet and people. Submit your innovation today at launch.org.
So this was the first official showing of this year's challenge. So what is a dream innovation coming in this year, Håkan? What would blow your mind or excite you the most?
Oh, there's so many. I think what could be really fantastic is to see if there is a simple way of creating a platform for designers that provides all the opportunities with a circular design. So not seeing barriers or problems, but actually providing opportunities for designers to design in this way. And personally, I would love to see a setup around additive manufacturing close to where people live, and just step into the future a couple of years earlier than planned.
Thanks. Klaus, from your perspective, having seen launch innovators in the past, what could be a dream innovator coming in this year?
Yeah, I'll say anything that can disrupt the linear system by being inspired or enabled by solutions from nature. So thinking about the natural system, the power of biology, the solutions coming from nature, and then finding out how can we change the linear system and loop back parts of it or all of it. That will be a dream scenario because it's so fit with the vision and the nature of Novozymes business, and that's where we could provide our resources and help the innovators accelerate their ideas.
Great. So, Vigga, I think maybe somebody would be curious around what has it been like? You're obviously a talented entrepreneur doing most of the work yourself, but being part of launch, what has it been like? Has it helped you in any way? What does it do?
Yes, we were an innovator back in 2014, half a year before we launched our company, before we went to market. And what launched has given us, we have been tapping into a great network. So today, when I have a big challenge, logistic, manufacturing, things like that, actually, I always know who to call. People, experienced, powerful people who can help me taking the next step. So that's basically what it has given me, a great international, super heavy experienced network.
And you're developing a little bit on that innovation that you started out with. So obviously you're known for the subscription service on kidswear and maternity leavewear. But there's something bubbling, I've heard. Are you ready to say
absolutely.
a little bit about it?
We have been on the market in Denmark for 2.5 years. Now we think we have a proven case. And actually, just a week ago, we launched our new IT platform and the new logistics setup, which is based on RFID chip and technology. And that new platform enables us to catering not only our own clothes, but actually other brands, other products, other companies. So I would say that we actually are ready with the next generation web shop based on circularity. And if any of you are looking for a circular platform, testing circularity out in real life, our platform is ready for you.
Ooh, that was an announcement. So that was a world news. Yeah. What should it be coined? A circular economy web shop or circular subscription web shop?
What it should be called?
Yeah, we're looking for that name.
I have a list of 100 names, and we didn't find the right one. You know,
we're taking suggestions, I think.
But yeah,
we're taking
absolutely. Please help.
So we are a little ahead of time. In a minute or two or five, Toge will lead us through an interactive session and engage all of you in helping reach out for innovators. But I'm going to open up for a couple of questions from the audience. Sorry to cut you off before now. You got the chance. And I've got two gentlemen handing out for the mic.
Yes, hello. The problem with circular economy is that the subject area is very complex. And if you are aiming at wanting to support innovations functional on a global scale, then they will of course also be complex. I would like to know if you could expand your current concept to be also a kind of a resource for those actors that have succeeded in getting EU financing through the Horizon 2020 or other programs, which could have created quite advanced solutions, complex with many actors, and support them in the afterlife, if one can say that. Because the results from the EU programs now, very often, the results, they don't get disseminated or implemented. It had big difficulties of doing that. So that network that you represent could be a tremendous value for those projects that have already proven themselves to be amongst the best in EU, or by that also in the world. So you could strengthen that and maybe have a better platform to develop really global, highly impact solutions instead of, well, only concentrating on relatively small actors. Sorry about that, but that's my thing.
Hey, it's a fair question. I don't know, Håkan, Klaus, do you want to go on this? Are we open? We are obviously open for more than startups. So we had corporations handing in innovations within specific areas of them, but collaborations, partnership, who are developing more complex technology or system-changing stuff?
You want to go first?
I think for me, we're not a closed platform at all. As I started to talk about, it's all about impact. And Launch Nordic is a platform, and it has its way of working, and we're selecting 10, and we've just seen what we're doing. One strength of the ecosystem or the network that we're building, both from the innovator side, but also the network and ecosystem of companies, organization participating in this is expanding all the time. And they bring in, of course, new ideas, and they bring in their networks. So it's actually a network of networks that we are trying to facilitate. So in that case, we will connect the dots with the launch organizations or launch innovators with others. If we then are open to include that, I would say definitely. It's not only for startups, it's about innovations, independently of how far you have come in your development as a company. I would say that Launch could be a platform and a network to connect to, if it can increase the impact that we can get.
Yeah, I'd say maybe we appeal more to startups and small companies because what we offer is help to accelerate or help to mature the idea. But we have had a few quite big companies that has engaged with new ideas, and I can only say if there's a lot of bright ideas bubbling in the EU that doesn't surface, then maybe we can help. I mean, we can only encourage them to come forward and become part of this. There's no limitations to size or scale or anything. If it's a good idea, we will look at it.
There's a couple of more questions. I think the gentleman here was first, and then we have another.
Thank you very much, Andrzej Kassenberg, Institute for Sustainable Development, Poland. Two things. One, I think it's, I am for the, circular economy, but we need to recognize that is some rebound effect. If we have products which will be very long time products? Or will we have, for example, the bulb for 15 years? Or in your case, that's this textile will be from one family to the other. That means that people who are now work in the production side, they will losing the job. That is necessary to think how we can solve this problem. That is one. Second, I think it's a big psychological problem. For example, if my country, there will be the offer that we can share the washing machine, many people say, no. My dirty stuff, I can wash in my washing machine, but not to allow the others. How is in your case? Because I think it's some psychological element. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Vigga.
I will start by answering your last question. The barrier about using second-hand clothing in this case. In Denmark, it's not a barrier at all. And I think in many European countries and also many big states in the US, it's not a problem at all. And I think the story that needs to be told to the consumer is that they actually get access to much, much better quality, much greater experience than compared to going down to a shop and actually buy a new piece of clothes. Because this quality, you cannot buy it in a real shop because it would be too expensive. So it's about another story. It's about explaining that this is a much clever, but also much more attractive offer to the consumer. And of course, it's a more easy story on some markets than on other markets, of course. The first question, it was about...
That is, the current production.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because that's such a good question. Of course, that this circular economy, where you get so good at actually using the resources for a long time period, that can close down a lot of jobs in the producing countries today. What we have experienced is that you're right, of course. This rumba, it has been used by 10 families so far, and that means that it's 9 times less production, of course, in this case. So you're right, in the foreign countries, faraway countries, it's less jobs. But we create a lot of new jobs on the local market, washing, repairing, distribution, and things like that. Much more healthy from a climate perspective jobs, because it's local jobs. So I see this as a job enabler and not a job disaster at all.
But you're losing in one place, but you build the other.
Yeah, we are moving the activity to the near market.
Sofus, can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think your point is absolutely right, and it's pointing to a big dilemma, and a dilemma we need to handle in this transition to a more sustainable world. But the current take, make, throw away linear system is sick. That is creating all the problems we have. Circular economy is not the answer to everything. Circular economy must not become a religion. It must be based on rational whole system evaluation and thinking, so that we don't move problems around. The solutions to that is not simple, but it's something that we need to address and work on in the years to come to find the right model. Yeah.
Good. There's another question here from the gentleman in the middle. Yeah, please pass the mic.
Thank you very much. Murat Mirata from Linköping University. A lot of very exciting stuff, and I'm very happy that people like you exist and do this thing. But I have another question. If you go to India, or if you come to the country where I come from 30 years ago, you didn't need to set up this scheme, because this is what is happening already. People do not throw the things. People get used over and over all the time. And if you turn to IKEA, maybe it's even a more dangerous story, because I would say that the entry of IKEA to many countries might have changed the whole way resources have circulated in the economy, because earlier times furniture was made for quality to last, and now today we can actually afford it cheaply and throw away. So the question or the remark, and I understand that this is a Nordic setting, so we need to concentrate on the Nordic issues, but is there any work ongoing also to preserve some of the existing things in the developing part of the world, which by design are a lot more circular and a lot more sustainable? And instead, as I see it, that the development is in that direction, that we are first trying to destroy what is already happening in those parts of the world, to make them actually a bit more Western, so that we will most probably turn back in 30 years and try to change all these consumption patterns back. To cut a long story short, is there any work going on under the roofs that you are controlling to actually preserve some of these elements that are in the less developing part of the world, where the resource patterns are a lot more circular and a lot more sustainable?
I think that's a question probably for you, Håkan.
I think, first of all, I think you're right. I don't remember the numbers now, but most applications we got for last year's challenge in the launch concept came from developing countries, from Africa and from India and South Asia. And they're building on the culture and what they're doing there already now. And there are some fantastic innovations and ways of doing stuff there. So I think we should not, of course, not destroy that. We should enhance it, and we should embrace it and bring it into the world we really need to change, which is more or less the Western world. So I agree with you there. If there are others, and I can only answer them for IKEA, and what our activities are, we will open up, you mentioned India now, we'll open up India as a country pretty soon, and what we have done then, entering that country, is exactly what you're talking about. Engaging with local entrepreneurs and local customs to fit that together with the IKEA concept. And how can we use what is happening in India and not just come in there and say, okay, this is a blue box, it should stand there, and everything else has to sort of fit around it. We've done it the other way around and tried to fit that blue box into the environment of India and how we can interact with the culture and the people living there. Small entrepreneurs up to medium-sized companies, and see if we can, how we can work together.
I was curious, is Sid from Kabadiwala present here, or is in the next session? We had an innovator last year from India who would be brilliant at answering this exact question, but I think he's in this SMB session. I'm going to pass it to Vigga then.
Yeah, it was a good point, because I think that in our case, the system is an old one, not only in India, but also in Denmark, where we are based. People have been circulating clothes for centuries. And I think that's actually the case in many circular business models, that they build upon old systems. And I think that they make it even stronger. And I think what we did is adding three things. We added designing and producing for circulation. So we step one step back and actually look upon how the product is going to be used and designed for that purpose. And secondly, we build it into a service, which is also a new thing. And then third, we build a business model around it. And I think that's the new stuff in it, because you're absolutely right. The idea about sharing a piece of clothes, it's old, absolutely.
There's a gentleman with, and one more. Can we have a mic? Thanks.
Yes, hello, I'm Paul Eakins from University College London and the International Resource Panel. It's a question for Vigga. It's fascinating what you're doing with the kids' clothes. I wonder if you can tell us a bit how you're challenging the logistics side, because obviously logistics from web-based platform have increased the quantity of traffic on the road enormously. And then what do you do with the clothes at the end of their lives? How do you resolve that? Do they become the new fashion in Kampala, as we were hearing earlier in the plenary session? So. Yeah,
of course, logistics play a tremendous role in our concept, and we started out in Denmark, which is a great playground because it's a small country, and what we see now is that we have implemented RFID technology in the logistics setup, which means that we always know where the product is. And we have also, what we have also seen is that it would be clever to set up local distribution channels. So our laundry partners are European, the biggest laundry chain in Europe, and they have facilities all over Europe. And it would be clever to centralize or to decentralize the distribution to those points all over Europe, because I see the local issue or the local perspective as a big part of this concept as well. So that is how we are solving it going forward. And yours? Yeah, the end of life, of course. Yes, actually, we do have a 3-step strategy for the product. So if we either we repair it, of course, or we redesign it, and it can be like a romper and it has a hole here and we cut it off and it becomes a t-shirt. Or in the end, when there's no life left in the product, we actually cooperate with one of the launch partners, Kvadrat, which is a Danish company that uses the textiles for furniture, new furniture material. But the fact is that that recycling textiles is a very immature industry at the moment. So there was recently done research that showed us that reusing a piece of garment is 3,000% more effective from a resource perspective than recycling it. So it's all about having it living as long a life as possible. That's where you gain everything.
Okay. In a couple of minutes, we're going to pick all of your brains and get you active on thinking around what kind of innovators and what kind of communities out there would hold the next generation vigors and the stuff that Klaus and Håkan has been talking about, disruptive innovations. But 2 questions before that. I've allowed one here, and I think one more here. Then let's see if we can make a 3rd one.
Thank you, Anders Wickman, Club of Rome and International Resource Panel. When it comes to textiles, and here we should have had H&M on the stage as well, but maybe you can respond to it. I was learning the other week that roughly 100 million tons of textiles enters into the marketplace globally every year. About 50% is being sold. And I was asked the question by the man who told me this, do you know what happens with the rest? No, not really, I said. Well, so far, until now it's changing gradually, but until now it has been distracted.
Yeah, because of tax issues. Yeah.
So, in my opinion, that's a value distraction that is absolutely colossal. So that's just the point. My second question is, you, each and every one, you represent companies who want to lead, and that's very good. But if we are going to mainstream these concepts, we need design requirements put by the political system. And that whole process, at least in the European Union, has been more or less stalled. Nothing is really moving. And the other thing we need is standards. We don't need a great variety of different plastics, because once you collect it, it doesn't matter whether you collect 60 or 70 or 80%, you can do very little with it. Most of it ends up being incinerated. So I would like your comments about more generalized design requirements and standards, and what role you could play as leading companies to push the political system to really make something out of this.
Håkan, I think that might be, I don't know if it's a push of the political systems, but you're doing stuff in bioplastics, I know.
Yes, we are. And of course, we are one company, one player, and we are committed to moving into a circular business model and a circular system. So, of course, one of the tools that we use is dialogue with politicians, both in Brussels but also on a country level. When it comes to, and you're addressing so many things with it, but it's really complex. I mean, we're talking about changing the economic system of the world if we're really embracing circular economy as sort of the future. And of course, you can't do that by one looking at things. And part of it is, of course, standardizing. Another one is to put legal requirements in place so that we actually drive the issue towards where we want it to be. One example that we have from the plastic, that you're touching on the plastic area there, what we have said is from an IKEA point of view, I think it's 2020, every plastic in an IKEA product would either be recycled or come from a renewable source. And in that journey, and then you look into how much recycled plastic is out there, and you realize there's very few systems in place that is actually efficient. So what we did is we engaged in that, but we also started to build a new type of industry, which is to produce plastic from renewable material. So that's a bit outside launch, but we have quite a big program where we engage with innovators and plastic producers which produce plastic from renewable sources. And we will add quite a significant hundreds of thousands of tons of new capacity of plastics from renewable sources, which is one way of addressing it, because then you can, if you live in that current paradigm with polypropylene or polyethylene and all of that, you're stuck to the properties. But with the renewable plastic, you can actually work with the properties to get them biodegradable, or to actually create them to do what you want them to do. So it's actually a huge business opportunity to enter there. But that's just a couple of, I mean, to address all of that, we can have a day together and we can.
Klaus, if I can comment too, now Håkan handled the standard thing, so let me talk about the policy thing that you also raised. It's absolutely right. Like I said before, the take-make linear system is sick. There's a lot of sickness in the political system as well that prevents us from doing the right things. But it takes time. Fortunately, politicians are a renewable resource, as Al Gore has said many times. It takes time. In Novo Times, we see it as a leader in sustainability. We see it as our role to inform and de-risk the political process. Because policymakers around the world, they may know what is the right thing to do for the long term, but they do not have the courage to drive that agenda if it's too unpopular among the population. Because then they're not voted at the next election, voted for the next election. So they are in this catch. So what we try to do is we reach out. We are headquartered in Denmark, and we work with the Danish government as part of their foreign aid programs to work with governments in the countries of targets like Bangladesh and India and other places. We work directly with leading manufacturers of textiles in Bangladesh, in China, to create role models, to showcase that environmental friendly, with good health and safety standards, good quality products is a viable business opportunity. And then we work directly with the authorities and policymakers in these countries to basically show them that you can get a much better environment, you can get much better working conditions, and you can produce much better quality of products without sacrificing the opportunities for creating jobs and success, economic success in that country. But it takes time. But I think we as leaders in the business has a key role to play to engage and collaborate with policymakers around the world to create that movement. But without the policy, there is a limit to how much we can do. But I do see a growing trust in business around the world, that we are here also to create a better world. We are not here just for the short term to cash in, but building that trust in the political system takes time in some parts of the world. But I think it's a necessary way to go.
I think these discussions will continue on for the rest of the day and tomorrow. And I can feel Tugan nearing from the behind. So now it's time for you to act. So get on the stage.
So, yes,
I want you to thank the panel first. Let's give them a hand.
Yes, no, I'm pushing Sofus and the panel off stage here because I really want to use the last 15-20 minutes of our time to put you to work. Because, as we've heard a number of times, the effort we're doing in launch is a collaborative effort. The engagement of the innovators is a collaborative effort. It's a collective effort, and it's a collective effort which starts already within the identification and the search for the innovators. So when we do this, we need the collective brain power of our partners, of the network around launch, and I hope today of you here in the room. So in launch, we are building, as we heard, a global ecosystem of innovators. And we need to find out through this year's Innovation Challenge on Design and Manufacturing for Circular Economy, who are the next innovators to take place in this group. This is an example of some of the innovators that we have had as part of it. And for that, as I said, we need your collective brain power to find those innovators that we can help bring to scale through the launch platform and help accelerate the impact that they can create. So in just a moment, I would like you to turn to the 2 or 3 people just around you, and I will take the risk and let you self-organize on that, well knowing that that can be very difficult, but let's see if that doesn't make sense. And I would like you to use the next 10 or 15 minutes to briefly, in these groups of 3 or 4, brainstorm on these 2 questions, which will be invaluable for us in the launch platform and the launch partnership to go out and find these innovators from around the world. To help us capture this information, on your chairs you will find what we have called a commitment card. This is an individual card, so once you've done your small brainstorm, please use this card to nominate specific innovators, people you know out there, whether it's innovators, SMEs, established businesses working with exciting ideas. Please help us engage with this card. So you won't be able to leave the room before you fill it out, you know.
Derek, close the door, please.
Close the door.
Change makers, stay.
Change makers.
Politicians can leave. No, I didn't say that.
So the two questions that we have for you for the last 10 minutes are, what innovations will transform how we design and manufacture, specifically for circular economy, and where are we going to find them? So please turn to each other. Again, I know as Peter said this morning, it's very frightening to have to interact with new people, but please do help us out. We need it, and I will let you know when 10 or 15 minutes has gone by, and you can fill out your card.
Niitä olisi siellä penkeillä. En tiedä, onko niitä jossain vielä lisää. Onko tässä sun takana? Onko ne voita? Täytetty. Täytetty. Mieleen, että voisi olla siihen kuitenkin siihen tilille. Yhteydessä. Ja kysyä, että se oli paljon tapaamista. Joo, mun mielestä täytyisi kyllä ehdottomasti keskustella siitä, että miten se... Niin mulla tuli... Jos mä vaikka... Sä voit vaikka... Joo, laitan vaan. Ja sitten se tavallaan sen meidän kokouksen jälkeen sitten sen... Joo. Miten sä oot keretään sitä. Sitten niin sellainen... Mutta siis minkälaisen aikataulun? Mä oon siis 15. päivä eteenpäin sen juhannusviikonlomilta tapahtunut. Ja sit mä oon sen... Sä et ole enää 15. päivää. Ei. Onko meillä aamulla sen virkoontamis vai onko se 14? Se on 14. päivä. No onko sulla sitten 14. päivä kalenterissa? Koska nyt on muuten tuli mieleen, että meillä on myös toinenkin tapaaminen. Saada smekkoa. Ai, okei, no mä oon siellä smekolla käynyt pariin kertaan. Joo. Mutta siis sä sanoit, että ne joku että ne on yrittänyt sun kanssa se joku kiertura. Joo. Joo. Jarkko.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
John? Good luck.
Hello? Hello? Okay, everyone. We have 5 minutes left, and I know Heikki will hurt me if I go over time. So if you could use the last 5 minutes to just ensure that you fill out your commitment card. As I said, it's your key to getting coffee. So fill it out for the last 5 minutes. Sofus?
Yeah. There's going to be two huge, we flew them in from the US. Can you see that quarterback down there? He's a quarterback in American football, and he's very efficient even though he's a little bit skinny. He will not let you out of this room without handing in a commitment card. It might be that the American president left the climate agreement. This guy won't let anybody leave action here. So take care when trying to get across him. So fill it out, and I hope so much to see you for tonight's dinner. And for Katie Coleman's dinner speech, so I'll hope I see you there. Thank you for being patient, and keep filling out the commitment cards and handing them in to Derek or Stina in the back.
Thank you.
Anni. Tosi hyvin hoidettu.
Yes.
Joo, kiitos.
Mikä on